And so our final rubric that we'll be using in MLED 610 this semester is the grading rubric for the Media Culture Project. And this rubric or this assignment is your final exam task. One of the things that you will notice is that this assignment is worth 300 points. So it's a significant piece of your grade in this course. And so you want to make sure that you get started on it early and that you have devoted the necessary time for earning a high score on this project. Okay. In the sort of descriptive overview, you're going to be analyzing a specific component of the media and culture relevant to young adolescents and discuss its effects on young adolescents as well as how it applies to the classroom or school settings. And then the second piece of this, and you'll see how this breaks up in a moment with the point value, is that each student will then create a method. So either a workshop, presentation, brochure, online resources, etc. There are a number of things that you could do, and the choices there are probably pretty endless. But the goal would be to use the information that you have found and to disseminate that information to parents. And so there's this real connection with this piece of sort of, here's what our students are being exposed to, here's what we know in terms of how that impacts those students based on their developmental components of the young adolescent, and then to also think about how can we educate parents to be aware of this and to be connected to it. So it really brings that sort of circular relationship between the student and the school and the parent, and sort of what can all three people be at least be aware of, and what we can all do to sort of improve this, make sure that we accommodate for those student needs as we plan for instruction and as we parent. So anyway, the first thing that you need to be aware of is that the topic choice here, it is due on October 1st, and you will see a place on Blackboard for that assignment for you to submit your choice of the developmental component that you are choosing from. Note here that the assignments or the components are divided slightly differently than they are in terms of how we have talked about them across the modules. So, for example, let me see if I can get, here we go. Let me see if I can highlight this specifically. Yeah. So some of these have been, while we talk about, say, intellectual and emotional development together in Module 1, and we may not necessarily always separate them out, in this assignment they are. So just pay attention as you're choosing your developmental component to focus on, and so make that clear for us. Okay, so the divisions are intellectual, social, physical and sexual, so that would be together, emotional, or personal moral development. Okay, so those are sort of your categories to choose from, and so you will want to notify us of your choice via that assignment board on Blackboard. Okay, and you can do that as soon as you like, but it is due by October 1st. Okay, and then again, as with the young adult novel study, you need to include the academic code for conduct statement on your assignment. If it is a PowerPoint, then you will want to do that. If it is another kind of format, then you'll want to do that as well. Okay? So the assignment's going to begin with an introductory description and sort of establishing the appropriateness of the topic. Okay? And so there's two things that you need to do for that. You need to first have a clearly defined topic, and then B, a description of how that topic is applicable to the young adolescent development. And one of the ways that you could do this is to sort of pick an example of one of the sort of things that you're going to be talking about. I mean, if there's a particular commercial, for example, or a particular ad, or a particular television show, and you could sort of do this to draw your reader in and to sort of help define what it is exactly that you're going to be choosing to focus on, and then use that. If you're using that to talk about social development, you could talk specifically about how that commercial addresses that, and you can sort of do it as a way to kind of draw us in. You don't want to do too much there, but enough to create a sort of engaging introduction. Okay, and then in the research section, you are looking for at least 5 instructor approved sources. You can certainly do more than that, but 5 is the goal to get the maximum points. Okay. And just a reminder here that you want to be paying attention as I go to this next slide. You want to be paying attention to the APA format. Okay. And so then you're going to have 75 points of this assignment are devoted to the analysis of your sources. Okay. So you're going to have 5 specific relevant examples from the media. And then you're going to analyze the messages that are sent along with those examples, and then discuss the implications that they have for young adolescents. Okay, and so you would be using APA format here because, of course, you'll be using and referencing the resources that you have chosen for this particular project. Okay, and so it could be commercials or ads in magazines or television shows. I mean, again, it's anything that sort of is in the media that you are seeing and think is relevant. Okay. Okay, and so then one of the things, as we talked about sort of bringing this full circle, one of the things that you're doing is then thinking about, now that you have this information, so you've introduced us to it, you've done the research and analyzed that, and so now how can you apply it to the classroom or the school setting? Okay, and this is sort of what the intended impact that it will have on teacher action or school action. Okay, so this section is going to describe 3 specific practices, changes, or adaptations you will make in your classroom curriculum or instructional approaches based on what you've learned. Things that will help you, or changes that you will make in your methodology, or the ways that you approach students, the way that you divide your classes up. I mean, you can think of a variety of ways that it may impact your instruction or the curriculum that you choose, even in terms of these messages that our adolescents are getting via the media. Okay, and so you're looking for 3 specific changes there. Okay, and again, that is 75 points of this assignment, so a fairly significant amount. Okay, so then once you think about how that impacts what you're doing in your classroom, a huge chunk of this assignment, 100 points, is happening or is assigned to this particular assignment. Is also going to require that you create a product to share information with parents and families related to the research that you've done. Okay, so this would be something that potentially you could take and use in your own classrooms eventually. And as a way of educating parents, it could be something that you put together, a workshop or something for parent night, something that you could send home. It could be something actual, like a physical copy of something, like a brochure or a handout, something that you would put, say, in the school office, or that you could send home in student folders to go home to parents or hand out on back to school night. Or it would be something that that you could create in terms of a workshop or an online presentation that you think would be informative to parents. Okay, and again, the possibilities here are pretty endless. Okay, and so the key is just to pay attention to what you're being asked to do here. This in itself could almost be its own assignment because it has a lot of points. So you want to pay attention to this. So your product, whatever that product you choose, that product needs to include a brief description of how the topic relates to young adolescents. Okay, so you want to make sure, again, you're establishing relevance, but you're doing that for a specific audience, and that would be the parents of the children that presumably you would be teaching. Okay, and then you're going to choose at least 3 examples of messages from the media, and then 3 implications that those messages have for young adolescents. Okay, and so again, you're needing to be thinking about this in the context of your parents, because they specifically are your audience in this case. Okay, and then at least 3 suggestions for detailed application for parent and family members. What could parents be doing at home to help you at school with dealing with these messages that our youth are being exposed to? Okay, and your product demonstrates attention to detail and knowledge of substance and significant points related to your chosen media or aspect of culture. Okay, and again, this section is worth 100 points. You want to make sure that you're devoting significant effort in terms of putting together that product. So potentially, when you're uploading this assignment, you may have two attachments, right? If you put together a brochure, it would need to be in its final product, right? So it would be the final product of the brochure, right? So that we would pull it up and it would be ready to print, for example, or a presentation, or a PowerPoint, or some kind of online website, or a workshop. And if it's a workshop, how would you plan that, and what kind of presentation tools would you be using? And those sorts of things are going to be separate, probably, from the first part of this assignment, which is perhaps more this part, which is perhaps more narrative. That is sort of doing, a chance for you to sort of examine your resources and then talk about how you would be applying it. Okay, so this might be more like a Word document, and the last part, this product piece here, is going to be in probably a very different format. Okay, again, as you start to work on this, if you have questions, post them and we will get back to you.